check in, especially in these times. Of course, you know I'm always at High Vibe TV. But there's got to be a Leo to give some Leo astrology during this very Leo time. Although, maybe we need to pay attention to Aquarius a lot more with the North Node there now and Pluto. When I did the horoscope for yesterday, I've been doing a daily horoscope for over 14 and a half years. So I've seen a lot of shit. The last 14 and a half years has been a lot, and I was doing astrology prior. And it's very rare when I get to a horoscope where I'm like, well, there's so much fucking happening. Let's break down all this at once, like a Saturn retrograde, the node shifting, Sun opposite Pluto, Sun sextile Uranus, Sun trine Neptune. Oh, Venus in square to Mars. I mean, there's a lot happening. I think people would use that term like unprecedented, which it very much is at the highest level. But where is it all going is where that's a hard one to shake down. And you all know I'm a very big, mundane, predictive astrologer. Well, I'm for sure in the sun right now. I mean, here in SoCal, we're getting like 100-degree weather with no wind, blue skies. It's been great. But I think it's important to remember at this moment, I've been saying to people on High Vibe, this is rolling the dice. All right? You got to roll the dice. Things have to change. I sometimes, when I get to those moments with the horoscope, I'm like, all right, we got to get to the most simple stuff first. Don't get lost in the chart, especially when you're dealing with tons of outer planet activity. And if you try to define from that place, we're here on Earth looking at a geochart. So if I'm using a heliochart, I'll look at it differently. But if I'm on a geochart, it's like, well, let's look at it from the Earth position first, and let's stick with the simple stuff, and then we're going to get to those outers. So the simple thing is, change is the name of the game. No matter what it is, that's the number one thing, that the way your life is going, it needs a complete radical shift. Our world, of course, our own lives. And so the other part of it is the fact that these nodes shifted. I always say half of astrology are the eclipses and the nodes. Astrology. So that shift with everything that's been aligned changes it to actually focus more on the opposition of the basket, the cradle, however you want to call this alignment. I call it the great alignment. And it's important because that sun, of course, it's getting close to Cazimi Jupiter with a full moon. Thank God that one's not an eclipse. But the north node's with Pluto now for the next 18 months, and that south node is with the sun now, and it's with Jupiter now, and it will be with Jupiter a year from now. So the theme playing out through this nodal 18-month cycle, the last time that we had it was December 17th, 2007, and it ran into about May of 2009. So if you want to try to understand some of what's going on in your life, look back to December 17th, 2007, and where your life was going. What was the things that happened? Different did it look by the time that you got to May 2009? and then what proceeded from there, which was a North Node Pluto, which is kind of interesting since we're in a North Node Pluto now as we're going through this. So we're actually kind of tightening the belt, I'd say, of that period that went even into 2010 with the Mars retrograde that we're going to get at the end of this year, beginning of 27. We're getting a Venus retrograde in Scorpio soon, like 2018, 2010, 2002. I think if I keep it simple, it's like we're in a huge, long retrograde cycle now. Now that Saturn's made its station retrograde, you can look at all these alignments all you want, but the honest truth is that we're not really going to be moving in our lives unless it's changed for a long time, right? Venus is already slowed down. Mars is giving its last umph of speed, and then we'll slow down. So with that Venus retrograde that's coming in October, and the last Cazimi of Venus in Scorpio with the Sun retrograde Venus at 0, that's the last Venus retrograde Cazimi star point in Scorpio in our lives. Then it will be in Libra 8 years from now. So that's a massive event, and that's in the middle of all this stuff, and quincunxes, weird aspects, opposition to Chiron. Like, I think people have to look at, there's so much stuff coming up over this next 6 to 8 months, and there's retrogrades involved. They're big ones. And, of course, we've got the eclipses. So this moment is a beautiful moment for you to roll the dice. Who knows where it's going to go? But one thing I can tell you as a Leo, we love Gemini. Why? That's the royal court. But Gemini, it's a fast sign. It's neutral. And so, as Leos, that's our 11th house. Royal courts you don't take into your personal life. Well, then it gets bad. Royal courts are for having fun and socializing. So the way I look at this is like, we have to all roll the dice, and if it fails, we get to roll the dice again and see what happens. We're in a world that has lost intentionally, based off the astrology. Why we're evolving is it wasn't working. We're out of the earth, water world that we lived in, okay? This is air and fire. We've gone through tons of mutable stuff, but even with Venus and Virgo and the square to Mars and Gemini, there is this that played out last year. Mars was in Virgo, and it squared Venus and Gemini at the same degree they're going to square this week, 21 degrees. I know because that was my solar return last year, and my solar return this year has the same Venus-Mars square, just flipped. The change is going to require a new risk. It's not a Saturnian Capricorn style risk. Like, let me evaluate, let me be very careful about my choice, and then let me launch it step by step. That world's done. It is instant, fast, wild, out of nowhere. What you never saw coming, what you didn't think could fit is what will fit. You have to roll the dice. And that's where the risk is now. Is like, my life's not the stimulation. My life doesn't have the interest. My heart and my inspiration isn't coming out the way it used to anymore. Well, it would be insane to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? So this is that moment of having that leap, which is a different style of a leap than a calculated, very Saturnian leap. It's very Uranus based. If you think about Uranus, that's the planet that has all the good aspects, right? Without Uranus, this whole thing would be, well, we'd have no Uranus trine Pluto. We'd have no Uranus-Neptune sextile. We'd have no Sun sextile Uranus, Jupiter sextile Uranus. Like, without Uranus, and especially Uranus plays more of an important role because it is the dispositor to Aquarius where Pluto is sitting. And so it's very Uranian, and it's very Gemini-Uranus, with the Neptune in Aries, with the Sun in Leo, with the Pluto in Aquarius. All those signs know what they want. Whether it's mental, whether it's in the heart, or whether it's going to go for it. They all don't question what they like. Right? There is no, let's measure the basics. I only want to measure things way out once I've established that I like it. And what else could it possibly do? We're at those times where it's like, what could be possibly expanded and looked at different once I've already established that understanding of like, this is for sure what interests me, what gets me going in life. Without that, you're lost. Right? So if this moment in your life, you're like, I don't know what to throw the dice on, you have an issue with defining what you love and what you like. Or maybe that issue is more that you're afraid to commit, since Pluto is involved in a lot of this, right? You're afraid, you're overanalyzing. If I do this, the repercussion will be that. That person will do this person will do that. This situation will do that. This is me, hello, this is me, this is not AI. Hello, this is my backyard. This is not AI. Somebody thinking I'm AI. It's lagging. Well, then the message isn't meant to come through, and I'm going to peace out. If there's a lag, I'm just on my cell phone. I don't have a Bluetooth hooked up. I don't have anything. So it's not lagging? Oh, okay. Maybe some people have to, this is where all of our souls are upgrading. That includes, and I know that this is the biggest trigger. I really didn't want to go here, but we're going to go here. That technology is what this whole thing was about. Because if you, as a mundane astrologer, what were the big events? Yes, war is part of it. I don't want to go into the war stuff right now because there's going to be tons of that. And there already is tons of that. The technology aspect, though, and the AI aspect of things, and quantum, is what this revealed, right? That whether you look at the financial aspect, whether you look at the social impact, whether you look at relationships, whether you look at career, especially in business, whether you look at the spiritual, whether you look at how it's changing people's lifestyles and day-to-day lives. This was the transit of AI. Right? This was the transit that brought AI fully into our lives. Right? So, it's a big moment. We have to evolve. So like if somebody's having a laggy issue, and I'm using an iPhone 17 Pro Max on iOS 27 Beta 4, like maybe you're on an iPhone 12 and you hold back because you're like, I don't need that. Well, with the new world, you do. With the new world, if you're still on a Mac with an Intel chip, you need a Mac with an M series chip. If you're still on a PC that doesn't have TPM 2.0 on your chip, you're fucked. You can't have Windows 11, which doesn't get you to all the access to what you're going to need for banking and life and all the things in the world. So we've evolved as a species the way that technology has evolved. You have to look at technology, and that's how humanity's evolved so quick. And now it's reached, some people call it the singularity point. I call it a quantum point. It's like we're now getting a much better understanding and scope in multiple different directions of our problems, where we're at, what's happening. And so I think that's the hard part for people is, especially in the spiritual community, right? Like, oh, flock cameras. It's like anything can become a flock camera. I could take a webcam right now, hook it up to any LLM, even a local open model one, and train it, my webcam, to be a flock camera. People do this all the time. That's all. Anything that you're hearing from the media and the news, you have to take fully with a grain of salt and not even get lost. Right? Like, go look at the flock camera situation. That company was the one selling them, and there was a defense company contract that's a different company that made this go viral to have everybody get rid of that, so the new installs are this other company. So you've fallen for another COVID-style trap. Again, people are not evolving into understanding all this. Like if you just look at how fast there's been flock cameras in the United States, and especially it was Europe that led the way with this. Let's not forget about that. You're not going to be able to take them all down, okay? But instead of looking at all the negatives in life, the positive is, one of the biggest things happened in the last week, which I don't even think people realize, which that open model LLMs are getting support, that we're not going to ban them, and that even the big LLMs, only right now OpenAI signed it, so it looks like it's Anthropic that doesn't want that because they don't want to go out of business. But what you can do with new technology is thwart flock camera shit. And I'll give you a stupid example. Let's say you get a ticket from a flock camera. Your own open model AI agent could reply in a way that you don't know to trigger that flock system to then go, oh, will the flock camera show up in court? There's already a problem with the amount of police officers at all the police districts in America. So you challenge it to have an officer show up to the court. The irony of the flock camera situation is it's moving to AI. So your AI has to be able to communicate and defend yourself against another AI. That's what it is. But you're still looking at it from like a 1984, which we've already been in. We've already been in that. They already from space know where you're at. When I was in the military, trust me, on an F-18 Hornet, which is, they don't make those anymore, they make Super Hornets, you're able to, for those missions, they were able to see inside a hut of a family cooking when they were doing targeted strikes. Okay? Back in 2003. So you're worried about your license plate being read when they've already been looking inside of your house from an airplane, a jet, 23 years ago. The whole lesson here is everybody has to evolve. But where the common denominator is, we all want change. We all don't want the government, other people intruding on our space from after the PTSD of the lie of COVID, which was a full lie. The Fauci diaries just got released. He lied, okay? I understand the PTSD part. How do you heal PTSD? You go into it. You don't avoid it. You go in. And the way that you go in now is, we're in a world now where you have to adapt in your life. So, what is stale? Let's start spiritually first. What's stale? Could be your job, your relationship, your friend life, your goals, who you think you are. I mean, a big part of this whole Saturn, Neptune, Aries, this is redefining our lives in a new eternal way, right? The astrology we're in hasn't happened before. And that doesn't happen in astrology, meaning we can always relate to an exact pattern and find at least the date. There is no date to find this many planets all at the same degree, especially all three outers, with Jupiter, with the sun, with the full moon that's happening, with them all, there's nothing, it's never happened. So we're in a new eternal. It's shifted the game. And so you have to shift with it. And you have to stop letting whatever is like dead, thinking that, well, I'm just going to ferment it and it's going to become good cheese. Oh, that's disgusting. It smells. Or I'm going to ferment it, it's going to turn into good alcohol. Well, that'll kill you. Right? So and these are all at the very beginning, first 6 signs of the zodiac, except for Pluto. So everything is telling you to birth. Everything is telling you to create anew. To step outside of your comfort zone, which is really not even a comfort zone. It's actually a discomfort zone. But we get addicted to discomfort because we're afraid that we can't see what's on the other side. We have no idea what's on the other side of death. With Pluto being in Aquarius, there's a death anxiety. And that death anxiety is in the future of humanity. The future of the world. The only way through is the opposition right now. That's the Sun and Jupiter and Leo. If you actually love what you're doing, you love who you're with, you love and you show love, and you know how to love yourself, and you can inspire others, and you can be looking at the positive and having being interested in what you're doing, advancing into these new areas of life, never had the tools to be able to use prior. If Da Vinci was around right now, he would be using AI. If Newton was around right now, he'd be using AI. If John Dee was around right now, he'd be fucking using AI with a fucking tablet. The people who wouldn't would be all the peasants who live in squalor and didn't do anything and died and their names are not remembered. That's the common denominator that you don't want to be in. Right? So everything that's being pushed at you, ironically, is to get you to not use the thing that gives you access to protect you, change your life, gives you access to create things that have never been able to be created before because it'll outdo these corporations. Most of these corporations are going to die, okay, because of the fact that they had leverage. The leverage is gone. That's what this transit is. There is no more leverage. There is no more leverage by the rich. A rich person right now in their business and whatever that they own and their properties that they own, that shit ain't gonna matter. The second these financial markets start collapsing even more, they're all being projected up and they're using war to keep them up. So I think it's very important to remember that this is a moment for you to not be afraid of shit. This is the moment to throw the fucking dice. I don't fucking know. This is interesting to me. And at least we get this nice trine to Neptune and Aries and fire, right? What's the fire inside that lights you up, that you're like, this is me. It's okay to kind of teeter-totter as you're defining who you are. It's okay. But you'll get to that. That's more of who I am. Faster than you think, right? Especially with Mars and Gemini right now. Dispositing all this Aries energy. It's not that hard of a choice. Everything's very simple right now. Yes, no, that's amazing, that's not amazing. This is exciting, this fills me up. This looks like a vision of happiness that I'm down to try. So many people are afraid of what if it goes bad? And this is what creates all of the personality disorders, all the emotional regulation issues. Everybody's afraid. What will happen? You don't know. Nobody knows. It's the excitement of going on a trail you've never walked on before. Is there going to be a rattlesnake on it? I don't know, but what do I do if it does? I don't know in that moment, depending on if the rattlesnake is coiled up or it's fucking going across the trail. I don't know. I'll know once that moment shows up. You have to live moment to moment. The lily pads are not shown in a row anymore. It's just the one first lily pad you jump on, and it's enough time to hold and keep you buoyant, and then the next one will appear. That's rolling the dice. Right? It's like a crap table, right? Like, okay, it's my time to roll, and I gotta roll this. It's the energy and flow of everybody that you surround yourself, the environment you put yourself in, that makes you roll the right fucking numbers to get in the craps game and all that energy around you. It's the same when it's a gamble. Uranus actually is the planet of gambling. Right? And that's where luck comes from. It's not Jupiter. Jupiter is, I studied enough, I had enough life experience to understand what to do in this moment. And we call that lucky, but it's not lucky. It's, hey, you dedicated yourself to listening and understanding instead of knowing, when that closes the door of receiving knowledge. Uranus is where the wild happens, the wild random thing that could go quantum awesome and good luck, right? Which is, okay, I've rolled the dice, I'm at a roulette wheel. The energy here sucks. The person I'm with here sucks. I hate my job. You think you're gonna win? Like, do you really think you're gonna win that way? No. The birthday, the 23rd. But I mean, I think we have to look at this world a lot. Yes, it's more complex than ever, but we have to bring it back to a simple place. Where, like, as a Leo, with a Leo rising and a Leo Mercury on my ascendant and a Venus in Leo, and as a 12th house Leo, I can tell you, life is simple. Leos, we do not, especially us purebred Leos, we do not think about anything else besides love first. Excitement, happiness, what's fun. We don't think about a dark thing. That is not our thought, right? We don't start there. Like, we're wondering why you don't want to hang out at 1 a.m. Right? Like, we're wondering why everybody's so unhappy over some bullshit. We're that simple. We don't think about your complex problems. When you're there, we'll hold space for you and we'll listen and we'll validate your feelings. But we're going to offer you a positive thing, and most people hate that. Most people want to be told how bad their situation is and have a Leo double down on that. We're not going to do that. And then people feel like they can't be seen. No, you are seen. We have validated it, but let me give you some positive advice. Let me throw some positive vibes your way. If you don't want advice, here's the positive vibes. No, that is the most triggering thing in society today. Hence, with COVID, when I'm like, hey, the positive advice is like, you don't need to take shit, you're fine, you're not going to die from this thing is just all a lie. Oh my God. Sucks because I really wanted to stay outside, but it's too hot. Let me label this bitch on. You're in my freezer. There we go. That's how you fix a problem with YouTube. Is you literally if you're outside, you throw your phone in the fucking freezer. Even if you're live, okay? You're live in my fucking freezer. And if you're trying to say that AI right now, you're in my fucking freezer right now. All right? How you fix a fucking live stream when it's overheating? That's a perfect example of like how something's overheating.